I'm Dr. Cynthia Clark. I'm an acupuncture physician and applied clinical nutritionist. I'm the creator of Energy Evolution, and I'm the president of Longevity Wellness. And I want to talk to you today about inflammation, because there's really two different types of inflammation, but we don't generally think about it that way. Most people think of inflammation as something to dangerously avoid because it's scary and because it means that we might be looking at options like surgery or painkillers long-term. So let's talk about the long-term use of NSAIDs, which are non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. These are things like Motrin or Aleve and Advil. There is a 100% correlation of ulcers in the small intestine after 7 days of use of NSAID drugs in 100% healthy volunteers. So people who had no problems before, they now, after just 7 days of use, they will have ulcers in their small intestine. So that's why you want to try to avoid those kinds of substances as much as possible. Now let's talk about the two different types of inflammation. There's inflammation that comes from overuse, and there's inflammation that comes from underuse. In Oriental medicine, we call this excess and deficiency. Overuse inflammation, this is going to be you're working out, and the tissues get taxed, and then they get tired, and this is an overuse inflammation. And you wake up the next morning and, oh my gosh, you're so stiff. Underuse comes from, you got it, not enough movement, not enough circulation. In one case, you might be getting more circulation. In one case, you're getting less circulation. Really, what's happening is we're looking at a spectrum of inflammation. So let's take someone who has high inflammatory markers. Maybe they have an autoimmune disease. Maybe they have something like fibromyalgia. This person is living in inflammation, high inflammation all of the time. And yet we can also take someone who hasn't been physically active and they start working out and they immediately start having inflammation. That doesn't seem fair, right? They immediately start having inflammation, so much so that they can feel pretty lousy at first. And it's easy to want to give up then. But the root causes of inflammation are very much the same. Certain factors that are inhibiting proper blood flow to your muscles and your tendons and your ligaments. Did you know tendons and your ligaments get only 1/10 of the blood supply that your muscles do? So when you start working out, after you've been sedentary for a while, it's very easy to damage or injure tendons and ligaments if you don't take your time and work up to it. That's why when you work out with a good coach or you follow a good program, then you'll find that there's a stage at the beginning where things seem too easy and you might be really eager to jump ahead and do the harder exercises because you're very motivated at the beginning. That's actually the time that it's most important to follow the recommendations of your coach or your training program and to stay on task. Because what that's really doing is building the blood supply in your tendons and your ligaments so that you don't get injured later on in your program. Factors that can cause inflammation, things that are stuck in your body that you might not be aware of, are things like glyphosates, which are a pesticide that's commonly found in our world today. Although 100 years ago, it didn't exist. So our food was different 100 years ago. Our water was different 100 years ago. This is why it's so important to stay attentive to a healthy diet, especially during training. If you are an athlete or an armchair athlete, tell me if you've ever had this experience. If you've ever eaten something that you knew was cruddy for you, and then shortly thereafter, you went and did a workout, maybe that same day, later in the day, and you just felt all this junk running through you. What you felt was your body floating through that inflammation, trying to purge toxins out of its system. A good way to observe that is usually with ice cream. You'll feel a little phlegmy. You'll feel these things moving around. So now you know what inflammation feels like at early stage, before it gets locked in your tissues. Early stage inflammation and late stage inflammation, the primary difference between those is just how long it's had to build up. Movement helps significantly in moving your blood circulation through. Remember, your blood is what brings oxygen and nutrients to your tissues. It's also what takes out the trash. It takes out that carbon dioxide, it takes out the toxins. So the more movement you get, then the healthier your tissues are going to be, and the faster those compounds which lead to inflammation can move through the system and keep from disrupting. When you do start working out, it's important, if you've been sedentary for a while, it's very important to do the right amount of exercise in the right way at the right time. And I personally am a big advocate of having a great healing team and great equipment. So there are pieces of equipment that can help significantly, like a pulsed electromagnetic frequency mat or intermittent pneumatic compression legs and an infrared sauna are some of my favorite recovery tools, in addition to acupuncture, excellent nutrition, and the right supplements to help support you. Proper nutrition, for example, would include protein and carbohydrates right after your workout so that your muscles can start the restoration process immediately and not be in starvation when they most need to recover. So in short, inflammation can be caused by toxins that are bound up in your tissues. And by the way, your body is your friend. It's doing you a favor with those toxins. It does its best to keep it away from your heart. And it does that by storing it in your fat tissues. So if you ever get frustrated about having a little extra weight on your hips or your belly, remember with gratitude that your body is working hard to keep you safe. And the way that you can help it is through movement, nutrition, water, and good daily care for yourselves after just doing a walk or running a short period of time. You need support in getting to the next step because those activities are your right to participate in. They're one of the things that will make you feel the healthiest over the length of your lifespan. And if you have trouble getting to a good experience with those basic activities, then please don't think that you are doomed to a life of stagnation and feeling sick. Know that it can absolutely get better, but you may be in that percent of the population that needs support to get through those early phases. If it's really uncomfortable or you really feel like you're in danger of injuring yourself, then please seek out someone like Longevity Wellness that can do acupuncture, that can use the proper tools to increase blood circulation so that you can move through this safely and not be afraid of injury. Hundreds of people have come to me with knee problems thinking that they were going to need surgery or that they were now entering the phase in their life when they weren't going to be able to take the tours or do the traveling that they wanted to do. And after the appropriate treatment, using whole food supplements, using acupuncture, light therapy, the pulsed electromagnetic frequency mat, the intermittent pneumatic compression legs, the infrared sauna, after appropriate treatment, I often don't hear from them again because they're so busy out enjoying life. And we call that health freedom. And that's our goal for everybody. I'm Dr. Cynthia Clark, and that's good medicine.